Joining us right now on the show, he's running for president of the United States as an independent, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Mr. Kennedy, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Great. We can hear you loud and clear as well. First of all, thank you so much for taking the time to join us, Mr. Kennedy. We know how busy you are, and we really appreciate you taking the opportunity. So I got to ask you this first question right off the bat. As you know, it's a national story. It came out today in the New York Times about this worm that somehow got into your brain. It's a wild story. It's kind of scary, right? Can you tell us how this happened and what you had to go through?
Yeah, in 2010, I was having brain fog and I was having trouble with word retrieval and short-term memory. And a friend of mine, I was trying to figure out what it was. A friend of mine told me I should get a brain scan, and he arranged for me to do it. And I went and got a CAT scan. They found a black spot in my brain. And the doctors immediately said, that's a tumor. My uncle, Ted Kennedy, had just died of a glioblastoma. So, and he had been the chair, Brian, of the Health Committee for 50 years in the United States Senate. So we had access to these incredible battery of really great doctors. And they were all on speed dial, all the best cancer doctors, brain tumor doctors in the world. So we sent my films out to all of them. And they all said, yeah, it's a tumor, and you got to have it removed. So I was scheduled to go down, I think it was on a Tuesday, to get my brain cut open, this tumor removed.
Wow.
At Duke in North Carolina. And by the same doctor who had done my uncle. And I went to pick up on the Monday, I went to pick up my films, the x-rays, the CAT scans, at Columbia Presbyterian in New York. And there happened to be this young Irish doctor who was a neurosurgeon who was sitting in the room. And he and I started talking with each other about a variety of things. And he asked what I was doing. And I said, I got this tumor in my brain. He said, can I look at your films? And they put them up on the light board. Mm-hmm. And he looked at it for a long, long time. And then he said, I don't think you've earned a surgery, which was like, for me, tell me more. And he said, I don't think this is a tumor. And he said, what you need to do is come back in a couple of weeks, and we need to measure it carefully now. Come back in a couple of weeks and see if it grows. And so we did that, and it didn't grow. And then we came back another 6 weeks, and it didn't grow. And, we did manage it with long term, and it never grew. And then in the end, they said that this is almost certainly a parasite that got into your brain. They call it neurocystic cirrhosis. So I may have left out a syllable. And that it's a parasite that's very common in India, where I had done a lot of environmental work. And it comes from eating undercooked pork. As it turned out, I ended up doing a lot of litigation in Iowa and North Carolina against these big factory farms.
Yeah.
Hog farms. And as it turns out, this is a fairly common, I wouldn't say common, but it's known, with some frequency among farmers who work in that industry.
And Mr. Kennedy, you suffered from, is this true? You suffered from back then, this was over 10 years ago, memory loss and mental fog. Have you made a full recovery?
Yeah, what happened is at the same time, I was having my mercury tested. I was getting all kinds of tests, and my mercury test came back sky high. So 10 times what, the EPA levels were for blood mercury, I think it was, but they were very, very, they were over 10 times what anybody considered safe.
Right.
And I had that chelated out, and all of that brain fog went away.
So you've made a full recovery. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
How's your, I'm very happy to hear that, by the way, Mr. Kennedy. So how's your health these days? Obviously, you're running for president of the United States. The American people want to know, how are you doing today? Any health issues? How are you feeling?
No, I don't. I mean, my one health issue I have is my voice.
Right.
I have a disease that I got when I was 42 called spasmodic dystonia. It was a neurological injury,
Hmm.
and it makes my voice tremble like this. But I'm doing these vocal exercises, and when I do them, my voice gets better. So I'm going to
Gotcha.
try to be more religious about doing them.
Good, good. Well, we're happy you made a full recovery from that. That was a really scary story I heard this morning. Okay, so I want to ask you about another story that came out today, and I want to get your thoughts on this. Your campaign hired a guy by the name of Zach Henry, his firm. This is a guy who said, quote, "No MAGA insurrection, just more Democrat misdirection about January 6th. He embraced conspiracy theories about Antifa." Now, I know you get frustrated when people label you a conspiracy theorist. So my question to you is, why would you hire somebody, or why would your people hire somebody in your campaign who has spread conspiracy theories about January 6th?
Oh, I haven't read this story, but I think that is one of the firms. I think we have 500 firms working for us in ballot access.
Mhm.
Oh, these are independent contractors, and we hire them for a job. We don't interview them about their political viewpoints, and their political viewpoints don't infiltrate our campaign. They're not in on strategy meetings. They're not in on, they don't help us. They don't advise us on issues at all. And there are a lot of them. So I'm sure you'll get a wide range of all kinds of opinions in that group.
Understood. But for the record, you don't believe that, right? You don't believe Antifa was behind January 6th, or as Vivek Ramaswamy said, was an inside job. You've never said that, right? You don't believe that.
I've never said that.
Okay, fair enough. I want to talk to you a little bit about an interview you did where you had made the case that Joe Biden perhaps is a bigger threat to our democracy than Donald Trump. And you know what took place on January 6th. You know Donald Trump has talked about ripping up parts of the Constitution. He still lies, by the way, as you know, about the 2020 election. I know you have issues with Joe Biden as well about censorship. I've heard you talk about that. But do you still believe that? Can you understand why some people that raise some eyebrows? Because a lot of people like myself feel Donald Trump is far more of a threat to our democracy than any Democrat in office today.
Yeah, I didn't say who's a greater threat to democracy between President Trump and President Biden. I wish those weren't the choices. What I said is that I could make that argument. And if you want to hear me make that argument, I will. But basically it's that the President Biden has done something that no other president in history has done, which is to actively censor free speech using the White House to pressure media companies and to essentially bribe media companies and blackmail them into censoring political opponents and censoring, policy opponents. So to me, it seems obvious that is the worst kind of threat that you can make to the Constitution. This is one of the things, you can also say that President Biden has done more to weaponize federal agencies and to politicize federal agencies, which is also a big affront to democracy. And I see it in my own life. I don't want to personalize this because this is not personal, but his decision to deny me Secret Service protection.
I spoke about that. I spoke about
this is my issues are minor, so I don't want to personalize it. But there's other, if you look at the Twitter files, the administration gave portals to the FBI, to the CIA, to NIH, to CISA, to the IRS, to all of these other federal agencies to go into people's posts on social media and alter them to censor people. And this is something that if liberals like myself, or the media, which is supposed to be the guardians of the First Amendment, if they do not understand how dangerous that is, then it's, that's the problem, is the media is not calling it. And that's the other problem why you can make the case that he's more dangerous is because the media is okay with anything he does. And that is what's dangerous, because You could say, their attitude may be, well, Joe Biden, he's such a kind old man. He's never going to abuse that power. But once he takes that power,
Mm-hmm.
he set a precedent where every president after him can do the same thing.
I would say if you watch right-wing media like Fox News, Newsmax, or OAN, they blame Joe Biden for everything. But let me play devil's advocate with you. First of all, I'm on your side when it comes to Secret Service. When I talk about what happened to members of your family, it's
Brian,
yeah.
Brian, why aren't you on my side when it comes to freedom of speech?
I'll give you. Sure. I'll get good question, Mr. Kennedy, and I'll give you the answer. I think it's freedom of speech pertaining to the government when you're on a public sidewalk. We're talking about private companies.
Wait, what? I didn't hear what you said. What did you say?
Sure. When we're talking about freedom of speech, we're talking about a public sidewalk. You're in public. Social media companies are private entities. And while I disagree with Elon Musk on a number of different issues, he owns X. These are private entities. So let me ask you a question.
Wait a minute. Let me push back on that because,
sure.
If you are a private, like traditionally, you owned a printing press,
mm-hmm.
you could print anything you wanted. Or you could choose to not print something. So you could, if I sent an op-ed into the New York Times, it's up to them whether they print it or not. If they don't print it, I can't say, oh, they censored me.
Right.
So because it's a private company. But what the framers of the Constitution were worried about was if government started telling those people what they could and could not print. And that is, and then the First Amendment is implicated, and that's exactly what happened in these cases.
Understood. But Mr. Kennedy
was coming in and threatening them with destruction.
I understand what you're saying.
We are going to destroy you if you do not censor our political opponents. That's public. That is exactly the scenario that the framers of the Constitution were frightened of when they drafted the First Amendment. And Hamilton, Madison, and Adams said, we put freedom of expression in the First Amendment because all the other amendments, all the other rights are dependent on it. If a government has the capacity to silence its critics, it has a license for every kind.
All right, well, let me ask you a question, though. Where do you draw the line? Should you be allowed to incite violence? Should you be allowed to put out medical misinformation? For example, if somebody with a huge platform puts out something that is clearly medical misinformation, forget about the vaccines. Insulin is killing diabetics, let's just say. Shouldn't there be a line that should be drawn? There's certain things you would agree with me that you shouldn't be allowed to say anywhere that could incite violence or medical misinformation that can hurt or kill people. Would you agree with me there?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. There are plenty of safeguards against that kind of information. But the government should not be telling. There are forms of speech, Brian, that are not protected by the First Amendment. And one of those is inciting violence. If somebody's inciting violence, then that's not protected speech, and the government has the ability to come in and say that's not protected speech. We're going to censor it. Other issues like soliciting pedophilia or something like that are not protected. But just because something is erroneous does not deprive it of protection. In fact, the First Amendment was written not to protect the speech that we want to hear, not to protect speech that is true, but to protect speech that is dishonest, that is untrue. And there are other remedies for addressing speech. And, Learned Handler said that the remedy for bad speech is not censorship, it's more speech. It's people correcting it. It's litigation. If you mislead somebody about a cure or something like that, somebody can litigate against you. You can, if you have a duty to that person. So there are plenty of remedies, but unfortunately, no, the government absolutely should not be correcting misinformation, because that gives the government a power that would be destructive to any democracy.
Let me ask you another question, and it involves the vaccines. For people out there that are listening, do you think they should listen to their personal physician and their personal doctors that know their medical history when it comes to, say, the COVID vaccine, or should they listen to people like you?
Well, I think, first of all, I wish the doctors had the power to actually give advice And, I think people should talk to their physicians and that they should be able to do what their physicians want. The physicians should not be punished or silenced or delicensed for giving them advice that the physician considers important for their health. And the physician's duty is to that patient, not to society as a whole. Oh, during COVID, we saw this, these mass efforts to deplatform physicians who were saying you shouldn't, maybe there was a patient who had seizures in the last vaccine or who had heart problems. Physicians should feel comfortable giving good advice to that patient. And that, unfortunately, those traditional rights of physicians were abandoned during COVID. But, I don't give people personal advice about whether to take a vaccine or not. If people want a vaccine, they should be able to get it.
Mm-hmm.
What I've said is we should have informed choice, which means there are people who are injured by every vaccine.
Sure.
They're unavoidably unsafe, according to the Supreme Court, and that we should do everything we can to make sure to protect the people who are getting injured, whether it's a rare group or if it's a large group. We should have good science. Everybody should be informed about the benefits and the costs, and people should be able to make up their own mind, and it shouldn't be mandated by government. Let me give you an example.
Okay.
Right now, CDC is recommending that every American get a 9th COVID vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
There's over 90% of the population is refusing it. Should CDC have the power to come in and tell you, Brian, you can't go to work, you can't have a job, you can't travel, you can't enter a building?
I'll answer that.
If you don't comply with what we tell you to do.
I'll answer that. First of all, I've never thought that the vaccine should have been mandated, so we probably agree on that. But here's something else I'll say that you might disagree with. I believe we should be getting our information from medical professionals and not somebody like Rand Paul, who's an eye doctor. Actual infectious disease experts and people that know our medical history and can make a decision with us. I'm not saying anybody should be forced to take it. That's all I'm saying. And I hear a lot of people, particularly those that are on the far right, that have zero medical experience with large platforms that are calling the vaccines poison. And I find that to be dangerous. Surely you wouldn't agree with that. Or would you?
No, I mean, what I would say is that, first of all, I don't necessarily agree with you that there are a class of, bureaucratic experts out there who we should be trusting. I don't believe we should be trusting CDC, for example. CDC.
How about our own personal physicians that know our medical history?
Well, I would much be more likely to trust your physician, and particularly if the physician has the power, if the government's not pressuring that physician, that physician to
Sure.
Under punishment of losing his license if he doesn't vaccinate, or the industry isn't, Blue Cross
Right.
Blue Shield,
Right.
giving economic incentives for interventions that may not be in your best interest. I would like to free the physicians of all of those conflicts and allow them to actually treat the patient.
Right. I think that's fair.
I just want to say this.
Sure.
I've been involved in over 500 lawsuits.
Yes.
Almost all of them involve scientific controversies. In every one of those lawsuits, there are doctors or experts on both sides saying two opposite things about the same issue. So, when I tried the Monsanto case, my wife, Cheryl, came to watch the trial for a couple of days, and Monsanto, she came in when Monsanto had experts from Yale, Harvard, and Stanford. She walked out at the end of the day and she said, "Why are you suing these people? They obviously that this product is safe," because they had said it. I said, "Just wait till tomorrow." So the next day, we had our experts from Harvard, Yale, and Stanford.
Right.
They said exactly the opposite. The jury believed us and gave us $2.2 billion. So, this idea that we should trust the experts that became a mantra in the liberal media during COVID is not a thing. It's not a feature of democracy or religion. It is a feature of totalitarianism, or it is not a feature of science or democracy. It is a feature of religion and totalitarianism. And in a democracy, part of our responsibility is to be skeptical toward any experts, to do our own research, to ask the right question of your physician, ask him if he's read the manufacturer's inserts, ask him what all of the side effects are, ask him whether your child's history will actually puts that child in danger of one of those, and what the chances are, what the risks and benefits of every medical product are. And that's what we should all know.
Sure. A couple more quick questions for you, and then I know you got to run, Mr. Kennedy. We appreciate your time. Your kids did receive the vaccinations, correct?
Some of you mean on COVID? My kids are fully vaccinated with their child vaccines.
Okay. So if you didn't, so I think it's a fair question.
On COVID, a couple of my kids, I'd say half of my kids took it and half of them didn't. I got 7 kids.
Understood. So your position is you think the vaccinations, the COVID vaccines, are unproven to be safe. So if that was the case, why did you allow some of your kids to take them?
Well, if you remember at that time, there was tremendous pressure to take them. You couldn't attend college if you didn't take them.
But they could have been homeschooled, right? You could have brought them to private school. You didn't do that. That's my question to you.
Listen, I have adult kids. I don't know how old your kids are.
I don't have any.
Right. Okay. Well, believe me, your ability to influence your kids after a certain age basically approaches 0. Oh, and I raised my kids to disagree with me, to challenge me, but also to tell the truth. Oh, I offered my kids vaccine cards and said, I don't want you to take this product because I had read the clinical trial data.
Yeah.
And they said, no, they didn't want to do it because they didn't want to lie. They didn't want to lie to their friends. So they made their own decision that they wanted to go to law school. They wanted to go to school.
Yep.
And that they had to take this risk, and they did it.
You would agree with me, though, that the vaccinations, they did save lives. It wasn't all bad and all poison and all these people died from the COVID vaccinations, that it helped save some lives and it did more good than harm. Would you be willing to agree to that?
I don't see how you make that statement. I think, first of all, we have the highest COVID death rate. We have one of the highest vaccination rates in the world in our country. We had 16% of the COVID deaths in this country, and we only have 4.2% of the world population. So whatever we were doing was wrong. There are other countries with low vaccination rates. For example, Haiti had 1.3% vaccination rate, and it had 14 deaths per million population, which is 1/200th of the death rate we had. Nigeria had 1.4% vaccination, at 1/200th of the death rate that we had. And then the other issue is we're seeing all these, which everybody acknowledges now, myocarditis, the pericarditis, the seizures, all of these deaths. There were more deaths reported from the COVID vaccine than all vaccines in history combined since they started keeping records in 1986. And the deaths were afflicting, Brian, young people, young athletic people.
Where has that been proven?
Let me just finish this.
Okay.
COVID was killing people during the first last 6 months of their lives. So it was mainly a disease of the aged. You're seeing the people who are injured by vaccines are much, much younger. And the problem is nobody can answer your question because of a deliberate confusion of data. That should have been the first thing during the pandemic. The first responsibility of the public health agency is to have good data and to allow access to that data and good analysis by doctors all over the world. I'll say one other thing. Mm-hmm. The only really good clinical trial data that we have are from Pfizer. And during the clinical trial, Pfizer gave the vaccine to 22,000 people, and there were 22,000 people in the placebo group. After 6 months, there were 2 COVID deaths in the placebo group and only 1 in the vaccine group. So Pfizer was able to say it's 100% effective because 2 is 100% of 1. But what they should have been telling us is that you need to give 22,000 vaccines in order to prevent 1 death. This is what their own studies show. And if you're going to give 22 vaccines to prevent 1 COVID death, you better make sure the vaccine is not killing anybody. Because if it is, you completely erase that advantage. But what they found in the study is that the death rate of all causes in the placebo group were 23% higher than the vaccine group. So they knew from the outset that there was a very good chance that this, and where were those, why were those extra people dying? Almost all of them from cardiac arrest. There were 5 cardiac arrests in the placebo group, in the vaccine group, and only 1 in the placebo group. Mm-hmm. So it appears that you're 5 times, if you take the vaccine, this is according to their data, you're 4 or 500% more likely to have a fatal cardiac arrest over the next 6 months than if you don't. I don't believe that those clinical trials were valid because they're much too small. They should have had 440,000, not 44,000 people. They should have been 10 times larger. But if you just want to base your opinion on what they say, you would never take it.
Sure. Well, Mr. Kennedy, I'm being told that we need to wrap this interview up because you have others to attend to. But I want to. We didn't even get a chance to talk about your vice president, Nicole Shanahan. But maybe next time we could do that. I just want to say I do appreciate you taking the time. You always have a platform here. I'd love to have you back on, certainly before the elections in November. And I appreciate you being here, sir. And I'd love to do it again down the road if that's okay with you.
Brian, I'd love to go on. I think we can. I think we focused today on some of the areas that we may have disagreements on, but I think that there's a lot larger landscapes that you may agree on. And I'd love to have I'm happy to get Nicole out of the way.
Yeah, I'd love to do that. Yeah.
I would love to have a longer, kind of wide-ranging conversation about to learn your thoughts on these things and
love to
discuss war, discuss Gaza, discuss
abortion. There's so many other issues, Mr. Kennedy, that I'd love to, and we probably agree on a lot more things, by the way, than we disagree on. Yeah, and I just happen to bring up the things we might disagree on a little bit. But hey, when you come to Vegas, I would love to have you in studio. I'd love to do that with you. Maybe we can have a little bit more time because I think we could have a really good discussion, Mr. Kennedy. And I appreciate you, and I'm glad you're doing better after that health scare over 10 years ago. Glad we cleared that up, and love to have you on again down the road, Mr. Kennedy. Thank you so much.
Ryan.
Appreciate it.
It was a joy. Thank you.
Thank you. I enjoyed it as well, Mr. Kennedy. That's Robert F. Kennedy Jr., everybody. Appreciate him taking the time to join us. Listen, he's...
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and fees. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
Have you ever dreamed of having your own radio show or a podcast, but just didn't think it was possible? Well, dreams can come true. Radio U. Radio U is a 5-day course that'll teach you how to acquire your dream show. We'll teach you how to host, how to write commercial, how to interview, how to market, how to write a contract, and most importantly, how to monetize your dream radio show. You'll learn from some of the best in the business with over 75 years in broadcast experience. You'll learn from people like me. And the best part? Every single student will be live on the radio as part of the class. Plus, one student from each class will get their very own radio show. You'll be live on the air right here in Las Vegas. Radio U. The 5-day course is being offered at $699. For more information, give Radio U a call. 702-763-5024. That's 702-763-5024. Or check them out at RadioYOU101.com.
He's a journalist for Loomer Unleashed, and we got into it on social media yesterday, and I invited him on the show. And he agreed. The only stipulation was he was going to wear his Cleveland Cavalier
You got to.
jersey, which I agreed to do. And I said, let's do it. Let's get into it. I said, why don't you just, usually I don't have guests on to start the show. But I said, let's just get into it, on a Friday. Let's just get right into it. So Charles joins us right now on PTL. Charles, I appreciate you being here. How are you doing, sir?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. How about yourself? Are you ready to get into this debate? This is going to be so much fun.
It might not be fun for you. I don't know, but I hope it's fun for both of us. Okay, that's my objective. I wore my Celtic jersey as you asked. You're wearing your Cleveland jersey. And I want to get right into it with you, my man. So first of all, how long have you been working for Laura Loomer in Loomer Unleashed? Let me get a little background on you first.
Hold up, dude. I'm just tweeting out your live link right now, and then let's get into it. Sorry about that.
That's okay. No problem. I just want to give people a little bit of background on you and how long you've been working for, Loomer Unleashed. If you can give us a little bit of that.
So for sure. Yeah. I'm ready to go now. This is going to be great.
Okay. So how long have you been there?
Since November, I've been working with Laura, and it's been fantastic. She's a great personal friend. She's very smart, very intelligent. Probably one of the best political operatives I know, and I know a lot of political operatives on the right and on the left.
We can get into that later, but if you want to talk about Laura Loomer to start, and I'm not here to trash your boss, but she called all Muslims savages, and she said she was a proud Islamophobic. Is that somebody that you think is smart that would say she is a proud Islamophobic? Because I find that repugnant and disgusting.
I mean, I kind of find Islam kind of a little disgusting with their codes and how they don't allow women to drive cars and make.
Okay, well, there's plenty of people. There's plenty of people that are Islamic in the United States of America that are not extremists. She called herself a proud Islamophobic. That means everybody that is Islam, she is against. Don't you find that to be racist and repugnant? That's my question. I'm not asking about your beliefs. I'm asking about your boss's beliefs. When you call yourself a proud Islamophobic, you're taking an entire group of people into one. Not everybody in Islam says women can't drive a car and can't show their body or anything. You do understand that, right?
Aren't you the same guy who said all Trump supporters are basically KKK?
Absolutely not. You just started. The first words you said in this interview are blatantly false and a lie, and I'm going to call you on it. Never in the 20 years of radio or when Trump got into office have I ever characterized every Trump supporter as anything. And if you actually took the time to listen to what I had to say, I said it felt like a Klan rally at the rally. And I said every day on this show, that I have Trump friends. I don't characterize every Trump supporter as being racist. I don't characterize every Trump supporter as being in the Klan. So would you like to recharacterize what you just said, because you misrepresented me?
I mean, I watched your video, so I guess maybe you can explain more. Maybe I didn't hear your video correctly, but
no, you didn't.
Why did you feel like you were at a Klan rally, I guess?
Sure. I said it felt like a Klan rally because of the cultish nature of it. And I've explained this, but I'll explain it to you. When people are buying Donald Trump Bibles, when people are buying $750 sneakers, some people were selling Confederate flags at that rally. I believe it to be a cult, like the Klan. It is a cult. And even Donald Trump admitted it. I could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue, and many of these people would still support me. You don't see people with malarkey signs on the back of pickup trucks. You don't see people buying Joe Biden Bibles. You don't see people buying $700 Joe Biden sneakers. He's literally using God and religion to make money and hawk Bibles. With all due respect, that's a cult. The Klan is a cult. Oh, yeah, and by the way, there were maybe a small handful of minorities at that rally. 99.9% of them are white. So I'm not saying every Trump supporter is a racist. I'm not saying every Trump supporter is in the Klan. That would be a ridiculous statement. And by the way, I've never said that. What I said is it felt like a Klan atmosphere in the sense of the word cult.
I mean, I think people don't drive around with Joe Biden signs and stickers because nobody likes Joe Biden.
Okay, let's go with that.
Your assessment.
Nobody likes Joe Biden. Then why did Joe Biden win the popular vote badly in 2020?
We all know Biden didn't win the election. Come on.
What do you come on? Where's your evidence of widespread voter fraud that Joe Biden didn't win a free and fair election?
Do you say with a straight face? Do you really, like, truly believe, like, in your heart of hearts, that Barack Obama got less votes than Joe Biden in Philadelphia and Detroit? Answer that question.
Okay, sure. I will.
Really think that?
Sure, I'll answer it. So it's not what's in my heart, like you, because I don't go by what's in my heart.
Or your
It's
brain.
not what my. It's
your
not.
brain. You really
It's
think
not
your brain
what's
is
in.
Biden
Okay.
got more votes than Obama?
So anybody that has an IQ over 20 would understand that Joe Biden won a free and fair election, and there's no evidence, because that's what I go by, Charles. I actually go by something called evidence. Now, if you can prove to me that there was widespread voter fraud, which none of the courts, nobody could prove, Donald Trump's attorneys couldn't prove it, nobody could prove it in a courtroom, that there was something called widespread voter fraud that could have changed the outcome of the election, which has not been proven to this day. So it's not what's in my heart, it's not what's in my mind, it's just something called logic and the facts. I don't know if you can spell the word fact, but there are no facts that would claim that Joe Biden didn't win in 2020. It's absurd.
Pennsylvania changed their voting mechanisms without the approval of the legislator. And when Pennsylvania changed their voting mechanisms to allow mail-in ballots,
And why did they do that?
The legislator, those mail-in ballots never, ever should have counted because they were illegal. Donald Trump won Pennsylvania.
So that's
There we go.
your
Donald Trump won
opinion.
Wisconsin, and Donald Trump won Georgia, so Donald Trump won the election.
Okay, so first of all, no, wrong. That's your opinion that it was illegal. It was not illegal. That's number one.
Courts
Number
have said
two.
what Pennsylvania did illegal.
Okay.
Courts have come out in Wisconsin. Those drop boxes illegal. Courts
Okay.
have come out in Georgia illegal.
Okay.
They literally
So-
had to change the Georgia recount. I'm sorry. They had to change the Georgia runoff election rules because what happened in November was so illegal. Right?
Okay. In your opinion, the elections were illegal. I tend to listen to the FBI, the DOJ, when they say it was the most secure election we've ever had, than somebody who works for Loomer Unleashed, with all due respect. I am
I'm repeating what the courts are saying. I'm
Okay,
just repeating what
got
the
you. So let me ask you a question then. So if that was true and the courts are saying the election was stolen, then why is it that Donald Trump had 61 opportunities to provide evidence in the courtroom, and they couldn't provide any evidence that the election was stolen? And there was no merit to any of those cases, and they were thrown out. Why is that then? Are some of those Trump
Actually, we're touching on a great point here, and a great point about the constitutional crisis that America was going through during the 2020 election. Why didn't the courts? You're asking a great question. Why didn't the courts step in?
Because they ruled that there was no merit.
No, because they were cowards. The Supreme Court are cowards.
Okay, so
The
this had
Supreme
nothing
Court
to do with.
literally said, hey, what Pennsylvania is doing is wrong with approving mail-in ballots without the approval of the legislator. And the
Well, guess
Supreme
what?
Court
Some of those
admitted it was
judges-
wrong, and they did nothing about it.
Some of those judges were Trump-appointed judges, so I guess that's Donald Trump's fault then, isn't it? I don't want to get into a 45-minute debate with you why you think that Donald Trump won the 2020 election.
He did.
The bottom line is that he didn't. It's a ridiculous conversation, and I'd like to talk to you about some more important issues. That's in the past. Joe Biden won a free and fair election. You said that if you don't vote for Donald Trump, that you're a Democrat. So you're saying Liz Cheney is a Democrat?
Oh, she's the biggest Democrat.
Liz Cheney is a Democrat who votes 99.9% with conservatives, and you're making the claim on this show that you believe Liz Cheney is a Democrat because she doesn't support Donald Trump. Are you serious?
Oh, she's the biggest Democrat, and she screwed over so
When
many.
has she ever sided with Democrats?
She
When-
literally set the stage to get potentially get Republican colleagues of hers jailed by the J6 committee. That doesn't make you a Republican. She's a Democrat. She sold out as soon as she joined the J6 committee. Because if you remember how the J6 committee was formed? Do you remember then Minority Leader McCarthy didn't get his picks? Right? And then
So because you want, so by your standards, hold on, Charles, by your standards, even though she's a lifelong Republican and she's voted 99% with the Republicans her entire career, you're willing to throw that all out in the garbage because she wants people held accountable for January 6th. That is absurd. By the way, Liz Cheney's not a Democrat. Mike Pence is not a Democrat. Mike Pompeo is not a Democrat. Jeff Duncan is not a Democrat. Mitt Romney is not a Democrat. You're making the case that for all the independents out there, and even moderate Republicans that are friends of mine, that they're not, many of them that I talk to, they're not even voting for Joe Biden. They're just not voting for Donald Trump. And you're claiming if you don't vote for a liable, sexual abusing 34 count felon, that somehow that makes you a Democrat is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my life.
No, if you are not supporting the GOP nominee in arguably the most important election of our lifetime, you are not a Republican. If you are not supporting the GOP nominee, how can you say with a straight face you're a Republican?
Okay, so first of all, that's not what you said. You said if they're not supporting Donald Trump, they're a Democrat, which is
Donald
absurd.
Trump's a nominee, so if you're not supporting Donald Trump, you're a Democrat.
Could it be possible, Charles, that maybe some of these people, with all due respect, unlike you, I don't know you personally, but it could be possible that some of these people, maybe they have a moral compass and they don't want to vote for a guy that's a 34 count felon and a liable sexual abuser who attacks
Liz Cheney has a moral compass? Do we need to
more than Donald Trump? Absolutely.
She threw her sister down the well. She betrayed her own sister. Liz Cheney's garbage.
How did she betray?
Lied. He lied and got thousands of Americans killed.
Okay, so you care about lying. Got it. So you care about lying, yet you wear the Donald Trump knee pads. That makes a lot of sense. Let's talk about January 6th. Since you're talking about lying. So you're definitely educating me, Charles. You're making some amazing points. Clearly, you're a Democrat if you don't vote for Donald Trump. That makes a ton of sense.
If you don't support, and I think Democrats would say the same thing.
No, they wouldn't. No, they wouldn't.
If you were not supporting Joe Biden,
I haven't heard.
The left would be like, you're not a Democrat.
I haven't heard one Democrat that calls himself a journalist like you who would say if you vote for Donald Trump, you're not a Democrat, you're a Republican. What I have heard people say is I think you're misguided. I think you lack a moral compass if you vote for Donald Trump. But I wouldn't say for somebody that has voted with the Democrat Party 99% of the time because they choose to vote for Donald Trump that they're not a Democrat, they're a Republican. I would say they're wrong, they're misguided. I disagree with their opinion. But claiming that they're from the other party because you don't like the way they're voting is absurd. Let's talk about
out of her way to destroy the House GOP as she was trying to destroy Donald Trump. I'm sure if
so you don't think the House GOP
let's use Jamie Raskin as an example, my little friend Jamie. I'm sure if Jamie Raskin decided, hey, I'm going to talk a bunch of shit about Joe Biden, and then I'm going to go out of my way to destroy my congressional Democrat colleagues, I don't think many people on the left would consider Jamie Raskin
Democrat colleague.
I think Jamie Raskin would be the first person to say, yeah, I'm not a Democrat anymore. Seriously.
Jamie Raskin is a Democrat. I have no idea what you're talking about. Which Democrat colleague did he destroy? Which Democrat colleague did he destroy? I have no idea what you're talking about.
I'm saying if
an example of something you're using it as an example of something that didn't happen. You're not making any sense.
No, I'm trying to put it in perspective for your audience. I'm saying, look, if a member of Congress on the left said, I'm not supporting Joe Biden, and then that same member of Congress joins a Republican-only committee and then uses that committee to go after their Democrat colleagues and threaten them with jail? Seriously? No one on the left would say that guy's a Democrat anymore. No.
Okay, well, again, nobody on the Democrat Party is doing that. And the reason why there are people like Adam Kinzinger's and Mitt Romney's and Liz Cheney's out there is because they want people on January 6th to be held accountable. Let me ask you a question about January 6th. If Donald Trump doesn't lie and say that the election was stolen, which, by the way, it wasn't. I know you think it was with no real evidence. But if Donald Trump doesn't say the election was stolen leading up to January 6th, does January 6th happen? Yes or no?
I mean, the election was stolen, so you're asking.
No, it wasn't. I'm not gonna have a debate with you over stupidity. The election was not stolen. There's no evidence of widespread voter fraud. And if you want to keep telling yourself that and keep saying the earth is flat,
the evidence I'm using is that voting rules were changed in.
That doesn't mean the election was stolen. We were in the middle of
Georgia.
Do you even know why they did that?
That's what we like to call illegal.
Do you even know do you even know why they did that? Do you even understand that we were in a global pandemic
and worked up over the flu? That's what
no. Okay, so it was the flu. Another idiotic, stupid statement on your part. Now, I know you're not a doctor and you have no medical degrees. Can you name me a time in this country where the flu killed millions of people? What the hell are you talking about? Now you're going to say COVID was the flu?
1919.
I'm talking about modern medicine in the last 50 years. This was a global pandemic where millions of people died. Are you not Oh, so now you're going to say they didn't die.
I mean, people died, but did they die of COVID? If you got hit by a car and you had COVID, a little bit of COVID, and you got hit by a car, and they said COVID killed you. Come
That
on,
is 100%. And where's your evidence of
I'm
that?
literally repeating statistics. From
No, you're repeating conspiracy theories by idiots on the far right. Where's your evidence that if somebody was hit by a car, where's your evidence? Where is it? Where can we go see your evidence?
You want to look? I mean, you have a nice
how many
video.
people
You
died
want
of
to look
COVID
right now?
So how many people died of COVID?
Who cares?
Doctor?
I don't know.
Who cares? I don't know. So you don't know how many people died of COVID, but you
I
want to
don't
argue
worship
machine.
COVID numbers. Sorry. I don't
Okay,
worship
so
COVID numbers.
so you have no idea. So you have no idea how many people died of COVID, yet you want to have a debate with me and downplay COVID. Do you realize
Because
how
it wasn't real. I mean, it was real, but it wasn't real like the media portrayed it as.
Okay, so how real was it?
They could change election rules without people freaking out, without the court stepping in so they could cheat. Come on, dude. The courts were too scared to move on these election rules being changed without state legislator approval because the courts were being scared that they would be called grandma killers because that's what the media blasted out. And that was... So, I mean, honestly, y'all on the left, you guys did a great job with COVID. You played
first of all,
an award for how
so first of all, let me correct you again, because again, you have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. I'm not y'all. I'm not a Democrat. I'm a registered independent that did not vote for Hillary Clinton. I didn't vote for Barack Obama. I am anti-Donald Trump, and I know you think everybody on the planet that doesn't vote for Donald Trump must be a liberal, which is, by the way, the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. I'm a registered
Republican nominee. You're not a Republican. Is that
okay? Okay, got you. So the Republican Party is led by the orange turd who's a liable sexual abuser and a 34-count felon. But okay, that's fine. If you don't vote for a 34-count felon, you're out of the Republican Party. Hey, that's a great way to win votes. Why do you think that the Republican Party has lost 7 of the last 8 popular vote in the presidential election? Because there's too many people out there like you that spread conspiracy theories and nonsense.
Oh, no, because they cheat in New York and Los Angeles.
Oh, they cheat. Okay, so let me ask you a question.
Chicago, do you trust the voting in Chicago? Do you think the voting in Chicago, mother effing Illinois, is honest? Serious question.
I don't know why you need to swear. We're doing a live interview on the radio, and you show a lack of intelligence by doing that.
Donald Trump says sometimes you got to add a little profanity to make it a good story.
Well, that's a very intelligent thing to do. You got to add. I use up here. I don't need to use profanity with you. So let me ask you a question. Yeah, you sound like a very intelligent person. So let's go back to 2016 for a moment, sir. Before the 2016 election, Donald Trump said that the election was going to be rigged, that Hillary was going to cheat, and that the Democrats were going to cheat. And then something interesting happened.
Yeah, we swapped them.
Okay, hold on. Let me finish. Hopefully you're smart enough to understand where I'm going with this.
All right.
Donald Trump won a free and fair election in 2016. Hillary Clinton conceded that night. And then for the next 3 years, I didn't hear any Republicans saying that, oh, well, it wasn't a fair election. It was illegitimate.
Yeah, that was Hillary.
No, it wasn't. She conceded that night. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. You don't know what you're talking about. Hillary Clinton conceded that night. What the hell are you talking about? There wasn't an insurrection.
And yes, she called her buddy Obama, and then they tried to literally force Trump out with some fake dossier.
What are you talking about? She conceded.
It literally happened, man. Come on.
What do you mean, come on? Come on, dude. He won the 2016 election. He said it was going to be rigged. I guess it wasn't rigged. Was Donald Trump wrong in 2016?
Hey, there were some weird things that happened in 2016. Trump swamped her so bad they couldn't.
He won a free and fair, but he won a free and fair election.
Why didn't they call Pennsylvania until like 3 in the morning in 2016?
Okay, so you don't want to answer my questions directly. Is that what
he won the election, but it wasn't free and fair. He won it despite the Democrats cheating.
Okay, so the Democrats got it. Okay, so with no evidence, the Democrats tried to cheat in 2016. With no evidence of widespread voter fraud, you claim that Donald Trump won the 2020 election.
Yeah, because Philadelphia is like, yeah, you should really trust the results coming out of Philadelphia.
No, I really trust Loomer Unleashed. You guys, no, I really trust people like you. You have a ton of credibility, Charles. So Charles, let me ask you a question. Yeah, you have a ton of credibility. Do you think Joe Biden's accomplished anything? Has he done anything good?
I mean, he's pretty good at. He accomplished a lot of things, like destroying America.
No.
Really I didn't ask you destroying America.
How has he done that?
Fantastic job.
How has he done that? How has he done that? What policy?
Go get some gas.
So you think Joe Biden sets the gas prices? Are you that ignorant?
I mean, Joe Biden sets the policies which set inflation and everything else within the
What
economy.
policies? What
Because
policies?
of Build Back Better, which is actually Build Back Worse.
Name me a
Build Back
policy.
Better shot inflation up. Oh, and Joe Biden doesn't let people drill anymore, so you can't get any oil. So gas is super
Do
expensive.
you understand that
And
the
energy
oil
cost
companies?
sets the standard for all inflation. So if you have high energy costs, it's a down. I guess we could call it a down ballot effect. Since we're
You
talking
have
about
no
politics here, and
You have no idea where you obviously have no idea where the energy independent statistics are in this country. You also don't
We don't
understand
have
that.
any energy independence.
Excuse me. You're just throwing things at a wall and hope that they stick, and you have no idea what you're talking about. First of all, we had a war in Ukraine.
How much was gas when Donald Trump left office?
Okay, I'm gonna try to educate you.
Ukraine has nothing to do with it. We weren't even really buying gas from Russia.
Got you. Now so you go from
we
you go from doctor.
we have enough oil to
I'm gonna
talk to ourselves and tell the world.
Charles, I'm gonna respond.
And we would be the
Charles,
most energy independent
Charles,
country.
I'm going to respond to what you just said because it's not good for our listeners when we both talk over each other. So now I'm going to talk, and then I'm going to give you the opportunity to talk. You're making the claim that it's Joe Biden's fault where our gas prices are at. Now I'm going to respond to that, and I'm going to tell you first of all, there's something called corporate greed, and the oil companies in this country have had record profits for decades. That's number one. Number two, if you ask an actual economist that knows what they're talking about, which clearly you don't listen to these people, they would tell you that certainly coming out of a pandemic and the war in Ukraine had a lot to do with why gas prices went on the rise. Number three, 98% of the world had to deal with high gas prices and inflation. And to those countries that we compare ourselves to, we are doing much better than them. So when you blame Joe Biden for high gas prices, in turn, you don't seem to understand that the gas companies in this country have made record profits, and that the war in Ukraine, if you speak to professionals that know what they're talking about when it comes to economics, would tell you that Joe Biden doesn't set the gas prices.
Who is the war in Ukraine's fault? Isn't it Biden's fault? It's really interesting. Why does Putin only go into Ukraine when Democrats are in office? Can you answer that question?
So now, so you just skipped over everything I just said.
More. And we want to talk about corporate greed. Let's talk about corporate greed. You know who is the most guilty of corporate greed? Woke capital. Look at all this damage woke capital is doing. And woke capital is just as guilty for all this energy crisis as Joe Biden is. And who funds Joe Biden? Oh, woke capital. So
woke capital funds Joe Biden. That's another very intelligent plan that you're making.
All right. But Wall Street's not funding Donald Trump. Wall Street hasn't funded Republicans since 2012.
Right.
2012 called. They want their talking points back. Republicans haven't been funded by.
So you didn't respond to anything that I just said. Would you say that? Well, I mean, I'm not going to repeat what I just said. You just talked. You're all over the place. Would you say expanding overtime guarantees for millions of Americans is a bad thing for the country or a good thing for the country?
I mean, is making people work more and more and more because wages are so crappy and inflation is so high. I read a video the other day.
You're not answering my question.
So many people in my generation have to work 2 jobs because Joe Biden's economy sucks. And then Joe Biden wants to track our Venmo transactions of $500 so you don't tax that.
I didn't ask you.
Donald Trump is not going to tax.
I didn't ask you.
And that helps my generation because my generation, like I said, many people have had to get a second job.
Hey, Charles, let's talk about that since you didn't, again, respond to what I just said. Donald Trump said he doesn't want to tax people on tips. Hey, Charles, why didn't he do that when he was president?
I mean, he did a lot of other things when he was president.
No, that's not what I asked you.
Let's try to do that, actually.
Charles? No, he didn't. No, he didn't. Charles, you cannot rely on
over in the House. Republicans get it done. So let's do it themselves. We don't need Congress. Yes,
Charles, you just said something that's not true. You just said Trump did try to do it. That is false. Hold on.
Congress didn't budge.
Okay, Charles, what bill did Donald Trump put in place to not tax tippers when he was in office?
Multiple CR. Continuing resolution. You know,
he did not
bills that they do to fund the government.
All right, Charles.
They tried multiple times to do that.
Charles, I'm going to give you a fact check.
I was in those. I promise you. I promise you.
Okay, I don't care. Listen, I don't care what you promised. There's fact, and then there's
I
fiction.
followed my own 2 eyes.
I'm sure you did, Charles. So the fact is that Donald Trump has never mentioned that until he came to Vegas. He came to Vegas. We are, in that sort of business. With tipping is huge in Las Vegas. It's the first time he ever brought it up. He didn't bring it up when he was president. He didn't bring it up in 2021 or 2022. Now, let me ask you another question, and let's see if you could respond to it directly, because you really haven't responded to any of my questions directly. Would you say gun violence prevention and gun safety, $286 million to student wellness and helping those that are suffering from mental illness, would you say that would be a good thing or a bad thing for the country?
I mean, what does that even mean? Suffering from mental illness? Like,
what does that mean?
Can you define it?
Sure. Those that are suffering. Sure. Those that are suffering from mental illness. It could be depression.
I mean, it sounds nice, but like, where's all that money actually going?
I'm trying to tell you, if you could just listen to me. There are a lot of people in this country that suffer from a ton of different mental illnesses. It could be depression. It could be anxiety, a number of different things. And what Joe Biden did is he implemented funds to help students, to help them with student wellness, also gun violence prevention and gun safety. Now, Republican or Democrat, I would think most Americans would say helping those that are mentally ill, especially our children, would be a good thing. Would you agree with me, or would you like to put a negative towards that?
No, I mean, no, I agree with you. Helping children who are mentally ill are good, but that's not what Joe Biden's doing.
Yes, it is.
No, it's so good. No, I'll give you guys this. Y'all over on the left, you say you're not the left, but you're like Democrats right now. So
all right, calm them down. Calm them down. Now it's my turn.
So good. You guys are so good with language.
My job.
I tell people on the right.
Okay, I'm
you
sorry.
guys on the left are so good with language. You guys take a subject.
Everything you say is factually inaccurate. I am on a bunch of, I guess you could say, a bunch of different avenues on social media and platforms. One of the platforms that I am on is Occupy Democrats. If there was an Occupy Republicans, I would be on their platform as well, because unlike you, I have a large audience. Okay? I don't work for Occupy Democrats. I'm on their platform, and I'm very appreciative of that. Okay? So just because I'm on Occupy Democrats doesn't mean that I'm a Democrat. You are on Loomer Unleashed. The Donald Trump campaign doesn't even want anything to do with Laura Loomer, the person that you work for, who calls herself a proud Islamophobic. She is a conspiracy theorist that has made conspiracy theorist claims about the Parkland shooting. She is no better than Alex Jones. So don't you start criticizing the platforms that I'm on. You work for Laura Loomer, who is respected really by nobody with an IQ over 20 in this country. She's despicable. She's a bad person, okay? So don't start... Oh, yeah, I'm sure she's very nice, calling herself an Islamophobic. Are you freaking kidding me? She is a disgrace. And everything you've said in this interview is absurd. You've said that Donald Trump won the 2020 election when he did. You said, okay, well, it's not my fault you're an idiot when you say things like that.
How am I an idiot by saying
you're an idiot because everything you say, everything you say is a conspiracy theory.
Courts in all three of those states said those state legislators
you don't know how many people died of COVID and you have no medical experience. You claim that Donald Trump won the 2020 election when there's no evidence of widespread voter fraud. And then when I ask you about 2016, when Trump did win a free and fair election, you claim the Democrats tried to cheat there as well.
They did.
You have no idea what you're talking about, Charles. You have no evidence. You're no better than Laura Loomer, and you're no better than Alex Jones. You're a conspiracy theorist who watches too much of Newsmax. Literally nothing you've said in this interview is a fact. You're continuing to run your mouth right now, and you don't know how to listen. So if you want to continue this conversation, you're not going to misquote me or misrepresent my opinions on anything. I'm not going to allow that to happen, okay? If you want to continue the conversation, I'm happy to do so. But just because I'm on a platform called Occupy Democrats doesn't mean I'm so biased on one side of the aisle like you are. You're not willing to criticize Donald Trump for literally anything. When he said I could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue, he was talking about Charles Downs. He was talking about you because you wear the Donald Trump knee pads. That's what you do. Have you criticized Donald Trump for anything, Charles? Anything.
Criticize Donald Trump. He's a great
He's
president.
Perfect. So he's not. So when he said he didn't respect John McCain because he was captured, are you okay with that statement?
Yeah, John McCain is a big loser, and all John McCain's done is hurt America.
So
did you grow up in the Rust Belt? Where did you grow up? I'm not trying to be creepy, but where did you grow up?
Well, what does that have to do with the conversation?
Because your background has a lot to do with your politics, right? So like I said, I'm not trying to be creepy. You don't have to be like,
No,
oh,
it
I
doesn't.
grew up in this town, but like, where are you? Like, what's your? I guess
My background has nothing to do with my political beliefs.
I mean, I'll give you my background because my background has everything to do with my political.
I really don't care about your background right now. We're talking about issues. I'm trying to understand your opinion on this. Let's try to focus. You can have your differences of opinions when it comes to John McCain. That's fine. That's not what I'm asking you about. I'm asking you about, in general, a person that was a POW for 5.5 years. And you don't, he said he doesn't respect him because he was captured. And you're telling me you're okay with that statement?
I mean, I think that statement that Trump said was taken a little out of context.
No, it wasn't. We played it on the show before. I'm not taking it out of context.
John McCain is a piece of garbage. Sorry, why am I supposed to respect someone because he was captured? John McCain went to the United States Senate, and for 50 years, he sold out my people. He sold out my people from the Rust Belt. He sold out our jobs. He sold out our opportunities so he could make a buck and feed the growing daughter. You know, that's all John McCain did.
Why should I respect him? Because it's called respecting
anyone from the Rust Belt.
I'm going to answer your question because it's clearly something that you've never done because obviously you haven't served this country. He was a POW for 5.5 years and he was tortured. What do you mean, ooh? Are you that much of a jerk? What do you mean, ooh? You don't have respect for our brave men and women in uniform?
No, I never said that. I said I don't have respect for someone like John McCain.
He was a POW for 5.5 years.
He went to the United States Senate for 50 years and sold out America.
I'm not talking about your political opinions on John McCain. It was Donald Trump that specifically said he didn't respect him because he was captured. You're defending that statement? Do you realize how awful that is, what you're defending?
Do you realize how awful John McCain is?
I'm going to say this one more time.
I wish John McCain would get alive and go get captured again. I'd be super happy if that happened.
Well, you know what, Charles? You're just an a-hole. You're just a bad person. To say that you're a jerk. For you just to say that you want John McCain, if he was here, to be captured again, makes you a despicable turd. You are a despicable turd. What is even your education? You sound like you have a 20 IQ. How stupid are you? Really?
I mean,
how stupid are you? Where is your education? What are your degrees? Give it to me.
Let's go. About your background.
No, I'll give you my background. I'll answer anything you have. I want to know what your education is.
I mean,
where did you go to college? Stupid.
Paul Ryan had the same.
Wow, you got a GED, so you're like Lauren Boebert. Did you go to college? Do you have a degree?
Dude, I just told you I graduated from Miami of Ohio with the same degree as Paul Ryan.
And what was your degree at Miami, Ohio? And what was your degree at Miami, Ohio?
Business and politics, like the best you could get. We're like the
business and politics at Miami,
Ohio. High IQ genius.
You're a genius. Yeah, you definitely sound like a genius, saying that you want somebody who was a prisoner of war, who has passed away, if he was alive, to be a prisoner of war again. Let me be very clear. I wish you were a prisoner of war. I wish you were in a cave in Afghanistan with Lauren Boebert right now. I really do.
I wish you would grow up in Rust Belt, Ohio, and see how awful it is.
Okay, I don't know what that has to do with anything.
It has a lot to do with it because John McCain was in the Senate for 50 plus years. He sold out our jobs and he destroyed the Rust Belt.
So because you don't like, let's go with that. Let's go with that. Okay, so let's go with that. You don't like him because you don't like his politics and you don't think he was very good. Okay, sure. So you're entitled to that opinion, but you're taking that opinion and saying you wish that he was a POW again. Do you realize how despicable that statement is?
Do you realize how despicable John McCain has hurt
people. You're just okay.
He has flooded my community, my hometown, with fentanyl. His policies are killing people and have killed thousands of people in Ohio.
I'm sure.
Yeah, he has.
Yeah, I'm sure it has.
Passed legislation that got people hooked on the opioids, dude.
Okay, so what have we learned in this interview? We've learned that with no direct evidence of widespread voter report, Charles says that Donald Trump won the 2020 election. With no direct evidence, he says that the Democrats and Hillary Clinton attempted to cheat in the 2016 elections. He's downplayed COVID. Hold on, I just want to review. He's called COVID the flu. He's also defended Donald Trump's statements when he said he didn't respect John McCain because he was captured. He also wished that if John McCain was alive today, that he would be a POW again. Charles, you sound like a very intelligent, very decent human being, but I wouldn't expect anything less from somebody who works with Laura Loomer, who is also a despicable human being.
You
I'm
have
sorry.
the part where I said, I wish John McCain would get captured again and be held as a POW because of his horrific policies he enacted in the United States Senate.
Right.
If John McCain didn't go to the United States Senate for 50 years and destroy America, I never would wish that on him.
Yeah. How much money?
goes in my mouth?
Gotcha. I'm just curious here because and I forgot to add that if you don't vote for Donald Trump, you're not a Republican, which is absolutely
the party nominee or not a part of that party. That's a very basic.
No, that's what makes you see. That's what. Well, you see, here's where you're wrong, regardless of what your stupid opinions are. If you're a registered Republican and you don't vote for Donald Trump, guess what? The RNC says you can still be a registered Republican. So actually,
changes rules.
Okay, well, they're not, because that wouldn't be America. That would be called a dictatorship. Okay, dummy? That would be called a dictatorship. Just because you don't. Yes, you are. You're very stupid. You're a very dumb person. Okay, I don't want to go to ad hominem attacks, but it's really hard to have any conversation of any intellectual abilities when I'm talking to someone like you who literally has the brain capacity of a 2-year-old.
Keep it going.
Yeah, you're very. Yeah, you sound like a very intelligent. You're so smart that you use that degree to work for Laura Loomer. So obviously, you're very intelligent. Yeah, no.
It's everywhere.
I have. So I've shown your work to some of my friends, and I can't even say on the air what I said to them because I didn't even know what I was dealing with but now I do. So no, I would say. No, I'm not going to say it because unlike you, I have decency, and I wouldn't wish to upon you. Unlike you, I wouldn't wish to.
Say it to my face.
Okay, I'll say it to your face right now what I think about you. Okay.
Oh, I can't wait. Let's hear it.
Yeah, let's hear it. You're obviously a very brainwashed, unintelligent person. You're obviously somebody that only takes far-right conspiracy theories. You have no facts to back up any of your opinions. And quite frankly, sir, you're an embarrassment to this country. And that is why you are not on any legitimate network. And that is why nobody watches your stuff and you're on Laura Loomer TV or whatever the hell it is. You literally work for a boss who calls herself a proud Islamophobic and a conspiracy theorist who said there were actors in the Parkland school shooting. She's called Muslim savages, and that's who you work for. You have zero credibility. Laura Loomer has zero credibility, and you wear the Donald Trump knee pads 24/7. You are an idiot, and I would say that to your face as well. You are a moron, a conspiracy theorist, and a dope. That's what you are. You are a MAGA clown, and you are deplorable. And when Hillary Clinton said the word deplorable, she was talking about people like you. If you had to take an IQ test, you don't have an IQ over 20. You're a moron. That's what you are.
The highest IQ, actually.
Yeah, I'm sure. That's like Donald Trump. Right, just like Donald Trump has the highest IQ as well. Yeah, I'm sure you have a very high IQ.
Paul Ryan went to the same university.
Who cares? Who cares?
Very high. Very high.
I don't care if Paul Ryan. Oh, by the way, Paul Ryan's a Democrat, right? He's a Democrat. According to the Rhodes Scholar Charles, Paul Ryan is a Democrat because he's not voting for Donald Trump. Do you realize how ridiculous you sound? Literally, I try to have a conversation with you, and every single thing you say is not only wrong, it's a lie or it's a conspiracy theory. Trump won the 2020 elections. The Democrats cheated in the 2016 elections. They cheated in the 2020 elections. You downplay COVID. I mean, literally everything you say is a conspiracy theory.
We talk about the 2000 Mules. We haven't gotten there yet.
That's probably one of your favorite movies, right?
What?
Is he still talking? Yeah, he's probably still talking. Go ahead, you can pot him back up. What do you think about Dinesh D'Souza? Do you like 2000 Mules? Is that your favorite movie?
It's not my favorite. I mean, it's a great movie.
It's great. Yeah, I'm shocked. I'm shocked you think it's a great. What do you think about the Confederate flag? You think that's good for the country? What do you think about that?
I mean, someone wants to fly the Confederate.
Yeah, so you're going to defend the Confederate. What do you think about Alex Jones?
It's called the First Amendment.
Gotcha.
Someone wants to scream Donald.
Hey, Joe.
Scream F Donald Trump. They have a right to do that too.
Put him down again. Hey, Joe.
You can say and do whatever you want as long as you're peacefully doing it. Right?
I didn't ask you if people don't have a right or have a right to show the Confederate flag. I asked you what your opinion was of it. Are you not even capable of understanding the question?
No, I am.
Answer the. What do you think?
My opinion? My opinion on the Confederate flag is if someone wants to fly it, they have every
And what is your personal opinion about what the flag?
I grew up in the Midwest. Why would I have a personal opinion on the Confederate flag?
So you don't have any opinion on it. What do you think about Alex Jones when he said the school shooting in Connecticut didn't happen? You okay with that opinion? You okay with
the First Amendment right to say whatever?
No, he doesn't. You don't even know what the First Amendment right is, you dope.
What?
Just because that pertains to the
I
government.
understand you can't scream fire in a movie theater, but what Alex Jones said is not at that
You
level.
can't hurt people,
It's not at
or
that
you
level.
can't
That's
incite
God's
violence.
issue.
And it was
It doesn't
proven
reach
in a
that
court of
threshold.
law that those parents who lost loved ones and children were getting death threats because of the things that
From
Alex
Alex
Jones
Jones?
said. You don't even know what the First Amendment
Well, Alex
is,
Jones is
and you don't even
responsible
know
for
what
other
it
people's
means.
actions.
You can go on a sidewalk and say a school shooting didn't happen, but when you go on a private business entity with a large platform, you can't say things that can harm people or hurt people or incite violence. Do you not even understand what the First Amendment is, dude?
Yeah, I do.
Charles, do you not even understand?
Yeah. Okay. So was Alex Jones calling up those parents, or were other people calling up those parents?
Do you not even understand the Alex Jones case and why he got sued and why he lost? Do I have to explain it to you?
No, you're not
Okay.
answering. You're accusing me. I'm not answering your questions. Now I'm going to ask a few questions.
Sure.
I was very. I was like
I
the
can't wait.
most respectful. So respectful, they said.
No, you didn't. The first, you weren't respectful at all.
I literally have let you.
You weren't respectful at all. The first 10 seconds of this conversation, you misrepresented me, you misquoted me, and you misquoted what I said at the Trump rally because you don't know what you're talking about. So I find that disrespectful. When you misrepresent what I think and what I say, that's when I get frustrated. So don't you give me this high horse. Oh, I've been so respectful.
I've been the most respectful.
You've disrespected POWs. You've disrespected
John McCain is not a POW. He's a 50-year American sellout.
Yeah, but I'm the one that
who has more money, whose family has more money than 99.9% of America. Come on.
Okay. So you want to. So you want to poo-poo on John McCain because he has money and you wish him to be a POW again if he was alive. But you want to say that I'm being disrespectful. Give me a break, man.
The last part, why?
Go ahead and ask your stupid Laura Loomer questions. Go ahead. I'll answer any question you have.
Okay. Want to talk J6? Can we talk? Wait. Can we talk J6? Because that was the other thing I think we wanted.
Can we talk J6? Yes. Okay. So let me. Sure. Let's talk J6, and I'll let you ask me anything you want. But since it's my show, I'm going to ask the first question. Okay.
By the way,
so
you have the home field advantage.
Okay. Well, I don't think I need a home field advantage with you because it's somebody with an IQ that's like 8 times yours. But anyway, we'll get back to that later. When done, yeah, I know you're a Rhodes Scholar. No, literally. Okay. You're right. You're an extremely intelligent person. Sure. We'll give you that. Sure. You sound like a very intelligent person. So let's go back to January 6th. When Donald Trump characterized all the people, including some of those people who attacked police officers with their own batons, there's video of it, tried to gouge their eyes out and assaulted police officers, and he characterized them, as hostages and patriots. Would you say those people on January 6th that attacked police officers are hostages and patriots?
May I take it back one step further?
No, answer the question.
How did J6 happen? Nancy
Pelosi?
Pelosi?
No. The question wasn't about Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah, a lot of those people
Charles, I need you to answer the question directly. And my question wasn't about Nancy Pelosi or how January 6th happened. I need you to focus. Since you're such a Rhodes Scholar and you got this degree from some college I've never heard of. So let's go back to what I said. And let's see if you can answer it. So let's see if, again, I need you to focus. Some of those people that were arrested and some of those people that are still in jail were prosecuted for attacking police officers and physically assaulting police officers. My question to you, and I need you to focus, would you characterize those people that attacked police officers as hostages and patriots? Please answer the question directly.
Have you seen the videos of the police officers kind of starting it first? So I don't know.
Police officers
I wasn't there on January 6th. See,
I didn't. Okay. Calm down again.
You're pushing some narrative on stories off of a few video clips.
Some of those people attacked police officers. There's video evidence of it. They had a chance to defend themselves in a courtroom, and they were convicted. Some of them put in plea deals because they were caught. You didn't have to be there. So now I'm going to try to ask you one more time because you're curling up like a pretzel, Charles. You and your, I'm going to ask you one more time. You didn't have to be there to see.
It's a little chill.
Would you characterize the people who attacked police officers that day physically as hostages and patriots? Please answer the question.
I mean, I don't really think any police officers were attacked that day based on my research.
Okay, bottom down again. I don't care about your stupid research. There's actual videos out there, and it was proven in a courtroom with video that police officers were attacked, and over 100 police officers had injuries and were sent to the hospital. So I don't know what stupid Laura Loomer research you're doing with the blinders on, okay? But there were serious crimes that were committed that day. And guess what? Every single one of those people had the right to defend themselves in a court of law. They had representation. Some of them copped plea deals, and some of them didn't, and some of them went to trial. And most of those people that attacked police officers are in jail. So I don't know what type of stupid Newsmax research that you did. You can't answer a direct question. If somebody, I'll even phrase it a different way so somebody like you might understand. Okay, Charles? In general terms, and I know you'll love this analogy, right? Because Laura Loomer talks about it all the time, another very credible individual. If a Black Lives Matter protest, somebody attacks a police officer, physically assaults a cop, would you call them patriots and hostages?
Is there evidence they actually attacked the police officer?
Just like on January 6th, there were videos.
Needed. All right. Well, a
Charles,
lot of those January 6 videos are doctored, right? They're not
Charles,
real.
I'm not asking you about doctored videos. You can't even answer
but
a
it
direct
matters
question.
with J6 because
Charles, why can't you answer a direct question? Do you not have the brain power? I'm asking you a very direct question. And the normal answer to somebody that has an IQ over 20 would be, it doesn't matter where it happens. If you attack a police officer, you're not a hostage and you're not a patriot. Like, are you not capable of answering a direct question? Are you not smart enough? Or are you just so mentally ill and deranged on the far right that, number one, you can't stop talking, and number two, you can't answer a direct question? As I pod you back on, because this is getting to the point in the interview where it was comical, and I think I've had you on 49 minutes too much, Charles. I really do, with all due respect.
I mean, I think your ratings are so high right now. You love me on. You're going to
my ratings. Okay, so first of all, a dope isn't going to help my ratings. That's number one. Yes, that's what you are. Number two, I get 15 to 30,000 people watching the show live every day. I get 50 to 100,000 people that watch the show every 24 hours.
Yeah, that's like him on your show.
How many people watch you? How many people watch you, Charles?
I don't have a show.
Yeah, exactly. I wonder why. I thought you were a Rhodes Scholar. I thought you were a really talented Rhodes
Millions
Scholar.
of people watch my videos on Congress a week, so that's
millions. So when you chase after a politician and you ask a student,
most of them talk.
Right. When you walk to ask Jamie Raskin a stupid question and you have your little 15-second video, you think that means you have any talent or ability at all? Because I'll give you some advice. It doesn't show that you have any talent at all. You don't ask any real questions. You ask a bunch of stupid right-wing conspiracy theorist questions, and that's why nobody has any respect for you.
I mean,
I have a lot of people.
When I talk to Jamie Raskin, I ask him, "Hey, why did J6 committee? Did the J6 committee not delete their communications?"
First of all, you can't even book an interview. You don't even know how to do that. You're in the halls of Congress all day because you don't have a real job, and you chase down these politicians in hopes that they answer you. Most of these politicians don't even answer you; they ignore you because they have no respect for you. I saw your stupid Jamie Raskin video, and by the way, that's not an interview. It's chasing somebody and yelling at them and a 15-second soundbite. You don't even know how to do an interview. I've given you the opportunity. You don't even know how to do an interview.
What do you mean? This is a great interview. This is like the best interview. You're having a great time. I know you are.
No, I mean, I just think you're a complete clown. You're a moron. I mean, I'm not having a good time. I just think I would like to have an interview of substance. I had the Donald Trump campaign manager on the other day. We had a good conversation. I don't agree with her. I had a conversation with a right-wing strategist. I've interviewed some of the furthest people on the far right, and we've had actual real interviews. You haven't directly answered any question that I've asked you. This has been a complete waste of my time. And I'm sorry, dude, if Laura Loomer wants to come on this show and she wants to actually answer some of my questions, which I'm sure she wouldn't either, I would ask her, why do you call yourself a proud Islamophobe? Are you a racist? Why did you say the Parkland, you had conspiracy theories about the Parkland school shooting when a bunch of kids died? Why do you call all Muslims savages? Why is it that the Donald Trump team won't hire you? They want nothing to do with you. The campaign doesn't want anything to do with you. Those are the questions. Oh, really? Then why isn't she working in the Donald Trump campaign?
I don't know. Go ask her.
Oh, so you don't know the answer to that.
I'm Laura Loomer's press secretary now.
She wanted to work within the Donald Trump campaign, and they wouldn't hire her. Why do you think that is, Charles, if she had credibility, which she doesn't?
I don't know if it went down like that, man. But
you don't know.
Can we go back to J6? Like, let's talk about J6. That's
because you definitely have all your facts there because you do your own research.
Yeah, I have tons of research.
The guy that doesn't have a show, the guy that has never conducted a
Maybe I don't want a show. Have you ever thought of that?
Maybe nobody wants to hire you because you're a talentless buffoon. Have you ever thought of that?
Or maybe
The only person that you can work for is Laura Loomer, a known Islamophobe racist. That's the only person that would put you on their platform because she's also despicable.
I wouldn't say she's despicable. I'd say she's pretty popular.
What is it you do every day? You just go to DC and you just chase down politicians with your 10-second sound bites and think you're good at what you do?
I mean,
what
that's just like 1% of it.
Like, what do? You wake up in the morning, you do these stupid videos that nobody
do every day.
I'll tell you what I do. I'm so glad you asked that question.
Oh,
Charles,
yeah, let's hear it.
Because I'll give you an answer. You see,
right.
I do about 5 hours of show prep every day. I get audio sound bites. I conduct interviews. Most of the interviews that I conduct, which are people that are about 1,000 times more well-known than you, people on the right and the left, I book guests. I come up with my own content. I don't chase down people in DC. My content's actually pretty good. And I disagree with a lot of people that I interview, but I prefer to do that. But they're actually people that have an IQ and have some intelligence.
I have
do
the
that.
best IQ.
Yeah, I know. You keep saying that. I know you're a Rhodes Scholar. I understand, Charles. But what is it you do every day besides spew right-wing propaganda and conspiracy? Do you actually ever interview? Do you ever interview anybody with any bit of credibility besides a 10-second soundbite of following somebody in the halls of Congress? Do you actually have?
Have you ever watched any interview in the Hall of Congress? That's all they are.
Have you ever booked any
no, dude. Everybody who follows everyone around in the halls. That's how it works.
No, you see, Manu Raju
That's
is
how it works. Manu
Raju
walks around the halls of Congress with his little microphone.
And I was going to
all the
my
time.
sentence by saying that he actually asks intelligent questions, and it's why even people like Marjorie Taylor Greene will stop and do.
MTG's a loser.
Okay?
So.
There are. Oh, okay. Yes. Okay. Okay. Well, I'm happy that we agree on something. That's the one thing.
We have one agreement. MTG's a loser.
I think Laura Loomer and Marjorie Taylor Greene both have a lot in common, and I think both of their IQs don't even add up to 40. But anyway, you see, there are journalists.
Has a very high IQ.
Do you have any journalistic degrees or any communication degrees or anything in your field? Anything at all?
What do you mean? I literally graduated with business and political science communication.
Okay, but do you have any communications degree or journalistic degree? Because you call yourself a journalist, you're an embarrassment.
Business and political science don't need communication. I think if you want to be successful in business and political science, you have to be able to communicate. Because if you can't communicate your points, no one's going to buy your shit.
Right. I know a lot of people are buying your stuff, Charles. There's no question about that. Yeah, I know a lot. What are you selling? What are you selling, Charles? Are you selling Trump on the 2020 election shirts?
No,
are you
I'm
selling
shirts?
What are you selling? Are you selling anything? Are you selling? What are you selling? I think you're selling a load of crap, is what you're selling.
Don't worry about what I'm selling.
More Loomer isn't working. All right. Well, okay. So Charles,
Trump winning?
So Charles, I've had you on for 50 minutes. It's been very difficult to talk to you. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to be honest with you. And the bottom line here is you're going to go on social media and say, I destroyed that guy Shapiro with facts, when the reality of the situation is you've provided no evidence for any of your lies and conspiracy theories. You're not even capable of answering a direct question. I don't think you're smart enough. I really feel sorry for you, Charles. I really do. But good luck with maybe a show that you have down the road, and good luck chasing down.
I don't even want a show, dude.
Well, I don't think.
If I wanted a show, I would have a show. All right.
Yeah, I'm sure you would. I'm sure it would be very, very successful because
it would be like the most highest rated show in history. People
I'm
like
sure.
me. People
I'm sure. Yeah.
People like me. People like Trump. People don't like Biden.
I'll say this. I'll give you credit for this. The same people that buy Donald Trump Bibles, the same people that buy their Confederate flags, the same people that will buy gold sneakers that are worth $10 for $750 probably do like you. I'm sure that there are some people out there on the far right that are bigots and conspiracy theorists, Alex Jones watchers, and watch Newsmax 24/7 because that's where they get their research from. I'm sure there are some of those people, not even all of them or the majority of them. There are some of those people, Charles, that will probably like you. Charles, I appreciate you coming on. Thank you very much. I think you're an embarrassment to journalism. And quite frankly, I think I just wasted 50 minutes of my time because you're a complete idiot. But thank you for coming.
Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Greenview Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super hero, that is, because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Have you ever dreamed of having your own radio show or a podcast, but just didn't think it was possible? Well, dreams can come true. Radio U. Radio U is a 5-day course that'll teach you how to acquire your dream show. We'll teach you how to host, how to write commercial, how to interview, how to market, how to write a contract, and most importantly, how to monetize your dream radio show. You'll learn from some of the best in the business with over 75 years in broadcast experience. You'll learn from people like me. And the best part, every single student will be live on the radio as part of the class. Plus, one student from each class will get their very own radio show. You'll be live on the air right here in Las Vegas. Radio U. The 5-day course is being offered at $699. For more information, give Radio U a call. 702-763-5024. That's 702-763-5024. Or check them out at RadioYou101.com.
Don, you've been everywhere, right? You must be
I've been all over. I'm sure this sounds better because it's actually my real microphone and not I was on the phone with my AirPods. And as you know, I will just be honest. I'm like, where's the link? I need to call you, Brian. Yeah, I've been all over really since the summer when I went to the Democratic National Convention in Illinois. We drove from New York to Illinois, battleground states, swing states, talking to people and got some really eye-opening things. And then just before the election day, we did a week or almost 2 weeks as well on the road talking to people. And I think those interviews, if you've seen them, Brian, I think they were sort of indicative of what was to come, you know?
I was surprised. I did watch a lot of those interviews, and I was surprised. It just seemed to me that not all the people, but some of the people that you were, they seem like really nice people, but maybe they were just ill-informed on the economy and on the issues. And it just seemed like they bought into the right-wing talking points. Am I wrong in assuming that?
They did. A lot of them bought into the right-wing talking points, but I mean, you have to remember too, I mean, people are easily co-opted. It's their faults, but then it's not their faults. I think they've been, they were co-opted by a cult of personality and really like a cult leader figure who tells them like, hey, I have the best economy in the world and, ever. And which is not true. Or, my tax breaks are going to benefit you, which is not true. Or, all of the things. And I think because, they want something better for their lives. They want their lives to be better and their situations to be better. And it's easier to blame the person who is in office rather than, Donald Trump for how poorly he handled COVID. And that's the reason, gas prices were up and coming down. That's the reason that there was inflation. That's the reason that prices were up because of, supply chain issues and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's easy to blame Joe Biden for it when it's really Donald Trump. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. So Don, I want to ask you personally, you kind of went through hell during the first Trump administration, the threats at CNN, the security you had to have, the death threats, and still to this day, the MAGA people out there that just say despicable things about you. And they say some things about me too. But what is going through your mind personally, the other night, when you saw that it looked like Harris was going to lose this election? For you personally, what does this mean for you?
Well, to be honest with you, I didn't think about it. Like today was the first day that I woke up. I think reality is starting to set in. I'm not so sad by what happened. I am disappointed in the country. But even when I was at CNN, I was less concerned about my own personal safety than I should have been. And it was the folks around me, my advisors and my friends who were saying, look, you need to do this. And finally, the police told me the same thing. Like, you need to after someone said they were going to stab me in the neck, I had to stop taking public transportation. I was driven around in cars, which people think is great, but then you don't get to talk to anybody, right? So you're sort of in this hermetically sealed bubble. So, I haven't really thought about it now because I'm not on, a platform like a CNN, which is interesting because they're losing, their influence, and folks like you and I are doing is gaining more influence. So perhaps I should be a bit more nervous about it. So I think that I will get security. I had security, quite frankly, that night at the Kamala Harris headquarters because we were, and that day because I was running around. I don't know if you saw, we were doing live man on the street. We did like almost 12 hours. We wanted to do 12 hours exactly on YouTube, but they told us when we were there, the lights go off in 5 minutes, which meant Kamala Harris is not coming out. And so go home, go home, and then she's going to come back tomorrow. So what does it mean for me? I think, look, yeah, I am worried about my safety. I have to think about that now and my family safety. And then not only my immediate family, meaning my husband and me and our dogs, but also my extended family, my mother and my sister, who experienced it for the first Trump administration, all of the crazy people, the QAnon people, the 4chan people, the people who are on Twitter saying, you know, awful things and then threatening to harm my family members.
That's horrible. Absolutely horrible. You know, Donald Trump has made a lot of promises. We know he made a lot of promises in 2016 when it came to locking up Hillary Clinton. We're going to build a wall and Mexico is going to pay for it. He's made a lot more promises. And the approach that I'm taking is, well, let's hold his feet to the fire. He says the Ukraine war is going to be gone in 24 hours. We're all going to get tax breaks. He's going to deport 15 to 20 million undocumented immigrants. I don't think he's going to keep any of his promises. How do you see it?
Look, I would hope. One would hope, right? The war in Ukraine could be over in, what did he say, 24 hours or whatever? Okay, that would be great if that would happen. That would be great if you could have Israel and Gaza all of a sudden come peace in the Middle East. Remember, Jared was supposed to be in charge of that. Yeah. Look how that ended up. So I don't expect him, obviously, to keep that promise. You can say a lot of bullshit. Can I say a bad word on here?
You can say that.
You can say a lot of bullshit when you're running. And then as it turns out, things don't work out that way, but people buy it into it and they believe it. Like he is this fake sort of strong man that they believe is, and when actually he's a coward. He's afraid of his own shadow. And so no, he can't do any of those things. Yeah, I don't expect him to. I would love for him to be able to do it, but it ain't going to happen. And in order to believe that, I'd have to be part of the cult.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the word masculinity, because a lot of MAGA Republicans out there are mocking Kamala Harris's husband for crying, mocking Jimmy Kimmel last night for crying, as if somehow it makes you less masculine if you show emotion and you care about this country. Yet these are the same people that voted in a guy that dodged the military, who attacks people on looks, who's the most unmasculine, if that's a word. Can you comment on that? Why is it that so many in 2024 think you're less masculine if you show emotion and cry, but if you storm the Capitol, you're somehow a patriot and a hero?
Well, I think it's because obviously they don't know what masculinity is. Like most people don't know what patriotism is. Like most people don't know what a good business person is. I think they just don't know. And I also think it's, quite frankly, it is sexism, is misogyny. And I hate that whole toxic masculinity thing. I hate that word, but that's all part of it. People have this sort of idea that you're masculine only if you are like John Wayne, like, oh, how are you, Pilgrim, or whatever, that's sort of masculinity. Or if you're out there yelling at people and calling them names, calling them B words or C words or whatever it is, that's somehow masculine, right? The bigger you are in the gym, the more steroids you take, that somehow that makes you more masculine. I don't believe that. Especially if you look at, right, let's think about all these folks who say that they are believers and these evangelicals. And it's like, was Jesus a muscle man? No, Jesus was the biggest socialist ever. Yeah. If you really, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. If you don't, it's socialism, whatever, to care about people. So yeah. I think it's because they don't know. They have unconscious bias about women, about what the roles of women and men should be in society. And I think they're just honestly just dumb.
I agree. I use that term a lot on this show. If you're just joining us, Don Lemon on the program. So Don, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I know you're not a conspiracy theorist. We all accept the results of the election. With that said, we're told that 25 million people registered to vote for this election. Yet Donald Trump got 3 million less votes than in 2020, and Harris got something like 16 or 17 million less votes. So my question is, where are all those voters? Where did all those Democrats go? Are we led to believe that everybody just sat this one out, that tens of millions of people sat this one out? The numbers just don't seem to make a lot of sense to me.
Look, I don't know specifically about the numbers, and again, I don't want to be a conspiracy theorist, and I don't want to be, have a similar mindset as the January 6th
Right.
cult members who have been co-opted to believe that the 2020 election was somehow stolen, and there's some back alley stuff happening when none of that is true by every court in the land, pretty much.
Right.
So, do I believe? Look, of course, I believe that there could be anomalies with the election process, right? But I do believe that I know from experience. You asked me, Brian, about going across the country. I know from experience that there's a lot of apathy out there. A lot of people just sat it out. And so I think the numbers will bear out that while there were a lot of people who registered and signed up, that there are going to be a lot of people who just did not participate in the process. Because I did hear from people, I don't like either candidate. Now, whether that's real or not, for the reasons, that's up to them. But I do know that there was a lot of apathy, people who sat it out and they just said, I am not going to vote. Do I believe that Donald Trump got fewer votes than he did last time? Yes, I do believe that. Do I believe Kamala Harris she didn't do, fewer votes meaning Joe Biden at the top of the ticket? I do believe possibly, but I don't know to the exact measure of what that would be.
Sure. Understandable. Looking ahead now and looking at this election, can you pinpoint one or two reasons why you think the result happened the way it did? I mean, some people are blaming Joe Biden. Some people are blaming the campaign. I don't think that's fair, by the way. My opinion has been, I think Kamala Harris did a great job and she overperformed, if that's, a fair term to use. I thought she did everything she could in a very short period of time. She was up against the 8-ball. But Joe Biden, I'm starting to hear this a lot and I'm starting to agree with it, Don, is that, remember Joe Biden said he was going to be a one-term president? He told America he was going to be a one-term president. Obviously, that wasn't his objective in year 3. He wanted to run again. And in year 4, I really think that hurt the Democrat Party and it helped Donald Trump escalate him to getting reelected. What are your thoughts on that?
He said he was going to be a transitional figure, which
Right.
which led most people to believe that it's going to be one term and then he was going to allow someone younger, right, to and maybe a bit more dynamic to come in from the Democratic Party, or at least try to create a bench and then and then sort of facilitate the process of elevating that person who's on the bench. So do I believe, as much as and I love Joe Biden, and especially, I have a history with Joe Biden. He called me and spoke to me for at least 45 minutes after my sister died. He is a good man. But I do believe that he bears some responsibility, like RBG did when she did not retire and then gave up Donald Trump the opportunity. She didn't retire under Barack Obama, and then gave Donald Trump the opportunity to be able to appoint, 3 Supreme Court justices. Okay. When most people, many presidents will get an opportunity to do 1 or 2. He got both. So I do believe that Joe Biden is responsible for, he bears responsibility for the outcome of the election, because he could have put into motion the process of elevating someone and putting them in place that they had a longer runway to run for president of the United States as a Democrat. So I do believe that. But I do believe that she bears some responsibility as well. But more than anything, I think that her campaign team bears responsibility.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that.
Do
Don,
you want to hear what that is? Because I think it's kind of controversial, but anyway,
yes,
I haven't
please.
heard it.
Yes.
I believe that she relied too much on mainstream media, traditional media, to give interviews to places that don't move the needle. That is only older people who are already on her side and going to go out and vote for her anyway. She should have been in spaces like mine and others, in streaming spaces, doing podcasters and influencers and streamers. Because as it turns out, if you look at the demographic and the folks who really, I think, made the difference for Donald Trump, of course, it was white women and white men. We know that. They voted for him more than anybody else. But he did get young people, and he got some of these college-age young white guys to get off the couch, and young men men of all different stripes to get off the couch, because that's where they're getting their information, not news from in those streaming spaces. So it should have been on Brian Tyler Cohen. She should have been on David Pakman. She should have been on The Young Turks. She should have been on the Don Lemon Show. She should have been on all of those shows, and she should not have treated social media and streaming media as if it's some niche. She also should have not treated Black media the same way. She should have been going on Joy Reid's show, just pop in, do a boner. She should have been popping in onto Tamron Hall's show. She should have been supporting Black media who has supported her. And I don't know if that's her or if it's her campaign, but I think her campaign could have done that. I also think, if you'll let me go just a little bit longer,
Sure, please.
they ran her as if she was a white woman trying to appeal to Black voters, when she was a Black woman who knew about the Black community, who has a relationship with the Black community, who attended a Black college, an HBCU, and they should have run her with that knowledge and let her be her. Because of that short, truncated runway that she had, the 114 days or whatever it was, they should have just taken the brakes off and hit the accelerator. And all the rules that apply to all this about Black women and that, I don't see that. She should have gone, when someone asked her a question, she would say, please, if you're going to ask me that question, you should be asking Donald Trump that question about why he says this about this person and this about that person. She should have gone, her campaign meeting, I'm not necessarily blaming her because she had to rely on her advisors. They should have gone pedal to the metal and not treated her as if she was Hillary Clinton running to appeal to Black folks. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I totally understand what you're saying. I completely agree with you. And you're one of the few people speaking out on that. And it didn't even occur to me. And you're 100% correct. She really struggled with young voters, right? And there are not, let's be honest, there are not a lot of young people that are watching The View. There are not a lot of young people that are listening to, the shows that she went on. You are so right on that. And you're also right.
Yeah. And The View was one of the questions on The View by someone who is very friendly towards her was, I think, pivotal in the campaign. And that was from Sunny Hassan, who's a friend of mine. Mm-hmm. Sunny said, what would you do? Is there anything that you would do different than Joe Biden? And she said, nothing comes to mind. And that was, I think, an issue for people who were undecided about her.
Really, really bad answer that she gave there. I completely agree with you. Don, before I let you go, because I know you got your show around the corner here, I want to give you the opportunity to talk about your new book, great new book that you have out. And I want to give you the opportunity to talk a little bit about that and how people
can looking for it. It was here and I can't find it now, but anyway, so go on.
Well, tell me a little bit about the book. Tell me a little bit about how people can get their hands on it and buy it, because you have so many great books out there. Talk to me about this one.
The book is called I Once Was Lost, My Search for God in America. And, it's about a religion and God, obviously, but it's really about how religion has been infecting our politics, how evangelicals have tried to not only blur the line between church and state, but they're trying to erase it. And I think they've done a pretty good job of it, considering the outcome of the election. And it talks about politics now, and it talks about women's reproductive rights and racism, and also about immigration and on. And I think people will get more out of this if you're a non-believer than if you're a believer, because then you'll understand that, I actually speak in rational terms about faith and religion. It was supposed to come out after the election, like right about now, or a week from now. And the publishers read and said, people need to go to the polls and they need to have this knowledge before they vote. And so I'm glad it came out before the election, but it's an interesting book on the intersection of religion and politics in this country.
And boy, doesn't it ring true to what exactly is going on in our society right now, all these important issues that you talk about in your book. Don, happy to call you a friend. I always appreciate it when you do this show, and look forward to doing your show again soon. Love your work, my man. More, claiming that the 2024 elections were hacked. Okay, so Stephen, my next question would be this. You're making some valid points, and I think it's very fair to ask these questions, okay? And you're making a lot of sense. But from an outsider looking in like myself, and clearly I don't have the experience that you have, but from an outsider looking in, I say to myself, okay, what you're saying makes sense, but there still has to be actual, real evidence to present in court of law, right?
Correct. So I have a testable theory, right? It's like, and I'll flag this. If I went to any of my customers, like all of the big credit card companies have hired me, every one of them, most of them a lot of times. If I went to any one of them and said, I have found a 5% anomaly in your data, I want to start an investigation, the big red siren lights will go on at the executive suite. Money gets approved the next 30 seconds and investigations start immediately.
In business, sure. Yeah.
I'm saying the same thing. And I'm saying this is testable. I never know for sure where a hack is. We find this by finding anomalies in a mathematical, stable system of a network. And that's what we're seeing here. The test is simple, and it's 2 addressable steps. The one, you actually take the paper ballots and you must hand count them. If the tabulator is compromised, running them through a compromised tabulator may or may not produce the same result a second time, depending on what the compromise internal to it is. But hand counting them would go, holy smoke, all of a sudden you'd say, this number doesn't match what the tabulator said before. And I've been working with some voter advocacy groups, and we have a list of precincts we want. And the challenge is there's been no engagement from the Harris people. You have to be.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think there's no engagement from them?
I think that the well has been so poisoned by the Stop the Steal people, and frankly, most of the Democrats are just too nice to admit that thieves have stolen the election from them. I'm sorry. That's what it seems to me.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Some more questions in regards. We were led to believe that 25 million people registered to vote in this election.
Yes, new people.
So let's talk about this. And this is a question that I asked the day after the election. I said, okay, are we led to believe that Kamala Harris got 20 million less votes this time around than Joe Biden?
Well,
and we can talk about Trump, where he was very close to the amount of votes that he got in 2020 as well. That didn't make a lot of sense to me. I wanted to ask you about that.
Something? Pull the ballots out and count them by hand. That is a separate. What you're pointing to is a separate issue, and I'm not dismissing it. There's also there's other investigators who are pointing out that there are thousands and thousands of ballots that have been challenged this time from new voters, mostly young women. That, like here in Pennsylvania, it's over 18,000 ballots were left in their envelopes. They're all submitted by young women. They're claiming the signatures don't match, and they won't let them be counted. Well, is it really voter fraud? Are you really excluding people because you think it's a fraudulent ballot, or you're excluding them because you don't want their politics included? And I've said this over and over again. I'm a moderate Republican, I admit, but I want to live in a democracy, and I want the ballots to count, and I want my candidates to win. And if they don't, they don't. And then you have another election.
I'm hearing from you, based on what you've told me so far, is these 5% anomalies, which are strange. I'll give you that. You're also right. And you're also explaining to me other weird things, like, for example, and we'll go back to this, is like, Trump barely won the popular vote. It was very, very close, which surprised me, by the way. But in this close of an election, which it wasn't a mandate. I've been saying that to Republicans. This is not a mandate. It was very close. Half the country still didn't vote for Trump or don't like Trump. And with that being said, if it's that close of an election, how can is Trump just really lucky? How is it possible that he wins literally every single battleground state?
I don't believe it's true.
Yeah.
But I've said I don't believe it's true. And looking at the data, so if I want to look at, and this is speculation on my part, but informed speculation is someone who looks at data anomalies all the time. When I look at the data and I pull out these weird undervote totals of whatever they are, whether they're electronic anomalies or if they're bullet ballots, if I pull them out, it looks to me like Trump won Arizona barely. Looks like he won Georgia barely. Looks like he won Florida by a lot. It looks like he lost Nevada. It looks like he lost Wisconsin. It looks like he lost Michigan. And Pennsylvania looks like it's a dead frickin' tie. So if that's actually what the result is, great. That's actually the result. In which case, it really does come down to who really won Pennsylvania with the real numbers. And Dave McCormick just went through this long battle with Casey. And Casey's now conceded. But even Casey said, look, I lost by 15,000 votes. That's it out of millions. Mm-hmm. And he says, but there's 18,000 votes sitting there in envelopes that they won't let us open because they've questioned them. And I'm like, that's a different issue. That issue of whether you're suppressing the vote because you disagree with people versus real fraud, different issue. But I'm pointing to a fundamental question that the systems that counted the votes are not producing a believable result. They're just not.
So you're alleging that you believe that somebody within Donald Trump's orbit hacked into these machines. So my question to you is,
well, somebody who wants him to benefit. Now, whether or not he didn't even have to participate in it, but someone who wants him to be president did it.
How would somebody go about doing that? And how could you find proof that somebody did that?
Okay, so there's two different core ways, and then a third way that's been suggested by another researcher. The two core ways, and if you've read my duty to warn letter, is that one, you would have to introduce bullet ballots. Now, strangely, there was an international bomb threat at 67 tabulation sites. Now that meant those tabulation sites were evacuated and not necessarily in the same order. And could you introduce a lot of ballots with just Donald Trump's name checked? Yes, you could, if you also knew what precinct to introduce them to. And that involves a lot of Confederates, which I'll get to this bounty we're now offering, a group of people approached me about. So you would have to do one other thing in advance. You'd have to mark that people voted in the e-poll book so that it matched the number of voters to the number of ballots. And here's the trick. When Elon Musk came forward and said, I have this wonderful idea, you need to sign up for a lottery to support Donald Trump, I looked at it and said, that's an interesting approach to marketing a candidate.
I think it's illegal, actually.
Well, I'm going to set aside whether it's legal. I signed up. I said, I'm going to see what this is. I like stuff like this. I'm going to go look. And because I smelled a rat. And you know what information they wanted in this modern age? Your street address. They didn't want your socials. They didn't want your email. They didn't want your phone. They didn't want to text you. They wanted your street address. Why? Because that's how poll books are organized. They wanted to build their own e-poll book of people that were willing to sign up for $1 million, and they claim they got millions of names. Okay, so now I'm Donald Trump on election night. I'm doing my thing. Elon Musk, meanwhile, who Joe Rogan and other people said had his own app. He's watching the real data be exchanged. He has his own copy of an e-poll book broken down by precinct by his data engineers, and they know who they are out there, data engineers. Someone took that lottery information and broke it down by precinct. 100% guarantee that. They now have this. End of the day is coming along. They're looking at their totals in each state. They're going, we need another 20,000 votes in Pennsylvania to be outside of recount range. Great. They can electronically in seconds, if they're in the poll book, mark 20,000 voters. They now know the precinct. Now they have to have Confederates that can either A, introduce actual ballots into those precincts, or B, the tabulators have to be compromised, and they have to tell the tabulator what the new total is going to have to be. And
so the allegation there is that Elon Musk had information that almost nobody else could have had in regards to if it's close in a certain battleground state, he could, and again, could compromise a certain district in a battleground state, knowing a certain number.
Hey,
of
everybody,
votes
are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you
there
of
wouldn't
Brooklyn?
have to be a recount.
That true
So
blue New York style pie?
If you built your own
Well,
e-poll
worry no
book
more.
database,
Sloan's
and people
Italian
who are pledged your
Eatery is a
support, and
knockout.
you've looked at the real
Located
poll
for
book database